When we're looking at the this feels good, my acting out or my escape, using sexual behaviors. I've used the term addictive sexual behaviors. Let's look for a minute at specifically what the behaviors are that we're talking about. One, just reading romantic or sexualized stories, articles. It can be I'm on the internet and there are sites where I can get these very sexualized stories. There may not be any pornography along with it as far as pictures go. And it may not be overtly sexual. It may just be very romantic. But the purpose for this behavior is because when I'm reading these things, it changes my mood. So I may go from sad or hurt or lonely or angry. I may go from that mood to a very mellow, everything is just kind of gone, or very excited now, kind of very glad, very excited, feeling some intense pleasure because of the content of what I'm reading. And again, the main focus of all these behaviors is their purpose. The purpose being to alter mood, escape a mood, escape negative feelings. Erotic fantasy, basically letting our mind do things, kind of using our mind as a DVD, or creating a drama or play in our mind in which we enroll other people. It may be people we know, maybe somebody we're in relationship with, maybe people that we've seen at school, people we see in magazines, on movies, somebody we saw walking down the hall. But we typically enroll images of people and then we have them do whatever we want them to do. We basically use them in our mind, in our fantasy, to create our own sexual pleasure. So our focus may be on what we're doing to the person, or the focus may be on what they're doing for us. But again, it's just very sexualized or romanticized fantasy. Compulsive masturbation. Let me say up front, it is not my purpose, nor goal, nor intent to try to define for anybody else, is masturbation inherently right or wrong? Is it evil or is it okay? Sinful or not? It's not my job in life to make those kind of conclusions for other people. But when we put the word compulsive with it, meaning I have no control over it, I don't want to do it, and then something takes over and I find myself doing this, and then I've yet again saying, God, I'm sorry, I don't want this in my life, I don't think this is appropriate. When it moves into that area, then all of a sudden we've got a sexual behavior that we kind of have to deal with, because that behavior is generating shame, guilt, and kind of a separation from God, and that very much fits into this addiction cycle. So again, I'm not trying to say in the Bible that masturbation is condemned or it's not. I think you have to certainly look beyond just the physical act to find the scriptures to even address it, because the Bible does not, to the best of my knowledge, address it anywhere at all as far as the actual act of masturbation. Certainly you can pull in ideas and concepts from lust, and what Jesus says about a person who lusts after a woman and what's happening in the heart. And those are certainly questions I think need to be wrestled with. My encouragement is that you come to your own conclusions. Hopefully you're coming to conclusions from input from good spiritual mentors in your life and using good information to arrive at your conclusions. I'm looking at masturbation in this light as more of a compulsive behavior than just the behavior in and of itself. Viewing pornography or other erotic material. Doesn't matter the medium. In other words, it doesn't matter how I'm getting it. Whether I'm getting it through my cell phone, whether I'm getting it through the internet, whether I'm getting it on video or DVD, whether it's a magazine, whether I'm downloading it onto my iPod. How I get it is irrelevant. It's the fact that it's an image, whether it's totally nude or not, whether it's a intentionally sexually provocative pose or not. The purpose that it has is I use this for sexual fulfillment, or in pursuit of sexual fulfillment, because when I'm doing it, everything else, all the problems in my life just kind of disappear. So using pornography can very much be an acting out behavior or an escape behavior. Phone sex, basically conversing with somebody via phone, describing what you would do to them, what you would want them to do to you, just very graphically sexual content on a telephone. Cyber sex, again, basically the same thing as phone sex, but it's taking place in form of type or text, electronic communication, instant messaging, text messaging, email, chat room experiences, whatever the situation is, but it's graphically sexual content as far as typing or communicating. Sexual touching, what some people refer to as fondling, mutual masturbation, what would have at one point been called heavy petting by generations past. Mutual masturbation, very much a common issue among certainly teens and young adults in our society today. Oral sex, again, because, well, technically it's not sex. Well, that's been, made very clear in public by some prominent people in our world. And the actual truth is, oral sex, like all of these sexual behaviors, it involves the exact same sexual response system. What goes where and who's doing what to what really is irrelevant because it's producing the exact same feelings. The same thing neurologically, biologically, physiologically, it's all the same stuff. Same neurochemicals being released in the brain. So the exact behavior, call it what you want, all of these behaviors are intentionally bringing into play a sexual response system that God put within inside the body, and then certainly sexual intercourse. Again, it's kind of a range of different sexual behaviors. On one end of that spectrum, we might look and say, yeah, those are just pretty tame, not all that big of a deal. On the other end of the spectrum, we might look and say, yeah, that's some pretty major sexual activity taking place. But again, I'm looking at the common thread that they all have. The common thread is typically they're used for escape or changing a mood or simply the sexual pleasure that comes about from whatever the behavior is.